So in this segment, we're going to be discussing civil servants potentially, refusing to work over arms sales to Gaza. These are the ones that are specifically in those roles.
The government has an obligation to do all it can to halt the onslaught. As it does not appear to be willing to do so, we are seriously considering taking legal action to prevent our members from being forced to carry out unlawful acts.
So this will be, I think, the unions getting involved here. And we've seen this before. We saw it with the Northern Ireland Protocol, where certain aspects of it, the minister at the time over in Northern Ireland was asking for it to be breached. And those civil servants said, we're not doing that because we're not going to be complicit in potential crimes. I think we saw that potentially in the Home Office had some of the plans under Preet Patel gone through as well. You had rumours and mumblings of civil servants going on strike and refusing to carry out these acts because they would be liable for some of these breaches of like international rules and things like that.
They go on to add, we do not take such cases lightly, and we only do so where we have reasonable prospect of winning. Important to add, the government have responded to this. They've said, quote, we keep advice on Israel's adherence to international humanitarian law under review, and will...
This review garbage is nonsense, because we've literally seen them bomb a refugee camp in Rafah. And so the idea that they are, if that isn't a red flag, then nothing will be. Honestly, they literally used it to bomb a refugee camp where civilians were. A massive amount of civilians were. They used a heavy bomb. I think it's a 68 kg bomb in that area.
Act in accordance with that advice. All export license applications are assessed on a case-by-case basis against the strategic export licensing criteria. But look, it's not just these officials that have an issue with arms sales to Israel at the moment. Three Supreme Court judges and 597 other of the most preeminent voices in the legal profession have an issue with it too. They've written to the Prime Minister saying that they want a ban on arms sale. We caught up with one of the senior barristers this afternoon. This is what he had to say.
We've called for a ban on arms sales because the arms could be used in acts of genocide in Palestine. The letter hasn't identified specific UK arms which have been used in the past, but the concern is that they may be used in future. And it's in order to try to prevent that that we say a ban is appropriate.
And is that what you believe is going on in Palestine now? A genocide? It's a very punchy word to be using.
It's a very punchy word and it has a very specific legal meaning. There is a serious risk of genocide. The UK is a party to the Genocide Convention, and that gives it certain obligations.
And so I think the civil servants are arguing the UK hasn't upheld its obligations under this act, and therefore they don't want to be a party to the sales of weapons.
And one of the obligations comes about where there's a serious risk of genocide. So it's quite specific words that are used to define what's going on. If there is a serious risk of genocide, then what the UK is required to do is to take all reasonable steps to try to avoid it.
The government is constantly receiving legal advice. Labour have asked for that.
You can always find lawyers to agree with what you want to say. You can always do it. There are dodgy lawyers everywhere. So the idea that they're getting legal advice, who's giving them the legal advice? And what basis are they using?
Legal advice to be made public. Do you want it to be made public?
This is, again, it's not something that appears in the letter, but personally, yes, I'd welcome that legal advice is made public. I'm sure the majority of the population would do.
I really wish we could have seen an opposition day motion in order to make this legal advice public, but I'm hoping if the government changes hands and we get a Labour government in, that they do publish the legal advice and we do actually get to start seeing it, especially the legal advice the Conservative Party got, but I don't know if they would be able to publish it if it was given under confidentiality or if there's some sort of rules there. But I would desperately want to see that legal advice to know what basis are they using in order to justify this. But I'm glad the civil servants are kind of saying we've had enough.
National and international concern, then it calls for greater openness than there might normally be on the part of government.
So yeah, 100%. I'm glad the civil servants, the ones involved in this, are looking to do this, because this is great news that they are looking to basically stop working on arms sales to Israel because of the potential genocide risk and the fact that they might personally be held liable to an extent over this stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy at least someone in government's taking a stand, because outside of a few Tory MPs, the rest of their party and that machine is abysmal and needs to go. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.